I used to think I knew my mom. Like really knew her. She was that kind of parent who never missed a school recital, never forgot a birthday, and always packed my lunch with those little sticky notes that said, "You got this," or "Proud of you, baby girl." From the outside, we were tight. Like Lorelai and Rory, kind of close. People envied our relationship. My friends always said, "Your mom's so cool." And I'd smile, not knowing that everything they admired was a performance, one I didn't even realize I was part of. We lived in a small town in Pennsylvania called Millview. Quiet streets, the kind where everyone knows your name, and secrets are supposed to be impossible to keep. I was 16, a junior in high school, and I was doing okay. Not amazing, not miserable, just okay. Life was predictable. Safe. Until it wasn't. It started with something stupid. A canceled trip. Mom had planned a girls' weekend for us in Philadelphia. She said it was going to be just the two of us, shopping, movies, maybe even a Broadway show. I was beyond excited. We didn't get away much, and I thought maybe it was her way of reconnecting. Lately, she'd been a little distracted, always on her phone, disappearing into her room for hours. But I didn't question it. I just thought maybe work was stressing her out. She managed a regional office for a health insurance company and was always traveling. But then, just hours before we were supposed to leave, she got a last-minute emergency call from work. She looked at me with that perfect blend of regret and fake urgency and said, "Sweetie, I'm so sorry, but I have to fly to Ohio tonight. It's a client thing." I didn't throw a tantrum. I didn't cry. I just nodded, disappointed but understanding. She hugged me extra tight and said, "Next weekend, okay? I promise." Only. She didn't go to Ohio. I wouldn't have known anything if I hadn't forgotten my math textbook in her car. She always parked in the garage, and normally, I'd never think twice about going in there. But when I opened the door that night to grab the book, I saw something strange, her suitcase. The same red Samsonite she packed earlier that morning. Still in the trunk. At first, I thought maybe she forgot to take it. But why wouldn't she grab it if she was flying out of state? Confused, I opened it. Inside were folded clothes. Not business attire. Casual stuff, jeans, t-shirts, even a pair of sneakers I hadn't seen in months. And at the very bottom, tucked beneath a zippered compartment, was a small, wrapped gift box with a card. I know I shouldn't have opened it. I know. But something in me just needed to see. The card said, "Happy birthday, Josh. Love, Mom." Josh? I didn't know anyone named Josh. And I certainly didn't have a sibling named Josh. At least, I thought I didn't. I felt my chest tighten, the air grow heavier. I stuffed the suitcase back exactly as I found it and went back inside. But my mind wouldn't stop spinning. Who was Josh? Where did she really go? Why did she lie? The next morning, I woke up early and checked her location on Find My iPhone. She'd shared it with me ages ago for emergencies. She'd forgotten I had access. My heart dropped when I saw her pin, Newark, New Jersey. Not Ohio. Newark wasn't just a random city. It was 3 hours away. And her location wasn't even a hotel, it was a house. In a suburb called Maple Heights. A nice neighborhood. Trees, big lawns, families walking dogs. She'd been there all night. I couldn't stop myself. I had to know. I told my best friend Camille everything. She thought I was being dramatic, until I showed her the suitcase and the card. That changed her tone real quick. "You have to go," she said. "You have to see what's really going on." The idea was crazy. Reckless, even. But I couldn't shake it. So I borrowed my cousin's car, said I needed it for a school project, and left early the next morning. Camille came with me. She always had my back. The drive felt endless. My stomach was in knots the whole way. Part of me hoped I was wrong. That maybe she was visiting someone from work. Maybe she was just dropping off the gift for a friend's kid. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But deep down, I knew. When we finally pulled into the neighborhood, I recognized her car immediately. Parked in front of a two-story blue house with white shutters and a tire swing out front. There were kids playing in the yard. A boy and a girl. The boy looked about 9. The girl maybe 6. They were laughing. Happy. And then the front door opened. My mom walked out, holding a tray of lemonade. Wearing sweatpants and a hoodie. Comfortable. Familiar. Like she lived there. And then, a man came out behind her. He wrapped his arms around her waist and kissed her on the cheek. She laughed. Like she belonged. Like this was normal. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Camille reached over and touched my arm, her voice barely above a whisper. Is that? Yeah, I choked. That's her. And just like that, everything I thought I knew shattered. Because my mom didn't just lie about a trip. She had another life. Another family. And I was just one part of her story, a story she'd been hiding for years. Everything after that moment felt like a blur. I remember Camille driving us back while I stared out the window, tears streaming down my face. My heart wasn't just broken, it was completely obliterated. I kept seeing the way she smiled at that man. The way the little boy ran up to her yelling, "Mom." It wasn't a nickname. It wasn't a joke. He meant it. And suddenly, I wasn't her only daughter anymore. I wasn't even sure if I was her real one. I didn't sleep that night. Not a second. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, the way she smiled at them. Not me. Not our life in Millview. Not the daughter she raised for 16 years. But them, her other life. Her other kids. That man. I couldn't stop the questions from pouring in like a tidal wave. How long had this been going on? Who was that man? Were they married? Was I a mistake? Did she ever even love my dad? I wanted to believe there was some kind of explanation, something that would make this all make sense. But deep down, I didn't think there was. I just didn't understand how someone could live such a massive lie right in front of me and still say, "I love you," every night like nothing was wrong. The next morning, she walked through the front door like she hadn't just ripped my entire world apart. "Hey baby," she called out. "Sorry again about the trip. I promise, next weekend, just you and me." I stared at her from the kitchen, my whole body shaking. She looked tired, a little flushed, but there wasn't a single ounce of guilt on her face. She looked like someone who had gotten away with something for so long, she'd started believing she deserved to. She walked over and kissed my forehead like she always did. "Did you eat already?" I flinched. That simple gesture, something that used to comfort me, now made me sick to my stomach. "I know you were in Ohio," I said flatly. She froze, the smile disappearing from her face like I'd flipped a switch. "What?" she said too quickly, too defensively. "You were in Newark, Maple Heights, with a man, and 2 kids." Her eyes widened just a fraction before she tried to cover it up. "What are you talking about?" "I saw you," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I saw you, Mom. I drove there. I saw the house. I saw the boy, Josh, your son, right? The one you got a gift for. I saw you laugh. And I saw that man hold you like you belonged there." For a moment, I thought she was going to deny everything. Pretend like I was confused. Like I made it all up. But she didn't. She sat down slowly at the kitchen table, her hands trembling. "I didn't want you to find out this way," she said. I wanted to scream. What other way was there? Through a Facebook post? A wedding invite from her other daughter? "How long?" I asked, my voice sharper now. "How long have you been lying to me?" She took a shaky breath. "Since before you were born." It felt like the air got sucked out of the room. "What?" She stared at the floor. "I met Marcus, Josh, and Lily's father when I was in college. Before I met your dad. It wasn't supposed to be anything serious. But things got complicated. I found out I was pregnant. With you. And around the same time, Marcus got engaged to someone else. I blinked. So, he's not your husband? No, he's not. But we stayed in contact. He and his wife, Sabrina, they don't know who I really am to the kids. They think I'm just an old family friend. Someone who visits and helps out. I felt like I was going to be sick. So you're telling me those kids don't even know you're their mom? She nodded, tears in her eyes. Not officially. Not yet. I didn't want to confuse them. I just wanted to be in their lives, even from a distance. I never planned for it to go this far. You lied to me my entire life, I snapped. You built a life around lies. You looked me in the eyes every single day and made me believe I was the only one. That we were this perfect little team. But the whole time, you were sneaking off to play happy family with strangers. They're not strangers, she said softly. They're my children too. No, I said, backing away. I'm your child. The one you raised. The one who depended on you. And now I don't even know if you ever really loved me, or if I was just a cover for your second life. She broke then, fully, completely. She buried her face in her hands and sobbed. But I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't know who she was. And I wasn't sure I wanted to. I did it for you, she whispered through her tears. I didn't want to break your heart. I thought if I could just manage both, keep everything separate, you'd never have to know. You'd be safe. Safe from what? I asked bitterly. The truth? She looked up at me, her face red and raw. From feeling like you weren't enough. That broke me. Because that's exactly how I felt now. Not enough. Not worthy of honesty. Not worthy of being someone's whole world. Just a secret. I didn't say another word. I grabbed my backpack and walked out the door, slamming it behind me. I stayed at Camille's that night. Her mom didn't ask many questions, just gave me a blanket and let me be. I cried until my eyes were swollen shut. In the morning, my phone was filled with missed calls from mom. Texts, voicemails, all saying the same things. I'm sorry. Please come home. I love you. But I couldn't bring myself to respond. Because love without honesty? That's not love. That's manipulation. That's betrayal. And for the first time in my life, I realized my mom was a stranger wearing my mother's face. I didn't go home for 3 days. Camille's family took me in like I was one of their own, but I couldn't even bring myself to smile when her little brother asked if I wanted to play Mario Kart or when her dad made pancakes just for me. I felt hollow, like a walking bruise. At school, I was a ghost. I went to class. I took notes. I said nothing. The only person who really knew what I was going through was Camille, and even she didn't press me. She just sat with me quietly during lunch while I stared at a tray of untouched food and tried not to cry in front of everyone. But word started spreading fast. I don't know who leaked it. Maybe someone overheard me crying to Camille in the girls' bathroom, or maybe someone saw my mom's car in Newark again and put two and two together. Either way, within a week, I was getting the stares, the whispers, the rumors. You hear her mom has another family? Like a whole other family. Not just a boyfriend, like kids and everything. I'd run away if I were her. I wanted to scream at all of them. Tell them they didn't know the half of it. That it wasn't some silly scandal you could laugh about between classes. This wasn't juicy gossip. It was my life. And it was crumbling. By Thursday, I'd had enough. I packed my stuff and went home, not because I was ready, but because I needed answers. Real ones. From the one person who still hadn't told me everything. When I walked through the front door, Mom was waiting on the couch like she hadn't moved in days. Her eyes were puffy, and the house smelled like stale coffee and tears. Hi, she whispered. I didn't say anything. I dropped my bag and sat across from her. I need you to tell me everything, I said. All of it. No more lies. No half-truths. I don't care how ugly it is. I want to know. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Okay, you deserve that. And then, she started. She told me how she and Marcus had been together during her sophomore year of college. How they'd broken up when she found out he was seeing someone else behind her back, Sabrina, his current wife. But before she could cut ties for good, she found out she was pregnant with me. I told Marcus, she said quietly. He didn't want anything to do with it. He said he was already committed to Sabrina and that I was trying to trap him. I felt sick. So he knew about me? She nodded. At first. But when he and Sabrina got married, I stopped reaching out. I figured it was better for both of us if I just moved on. That's when I met your dad. This part made me flinch. He knew about Marcus too, she added quickly. He knew you weren't his biologically, but he loved you anyway. He loved us. Until he didn't. She stared down at her hands. When he left, I felt like the biggest failure in the world. I had no job, no savings, and a daughter to raise alone. That's when Marcus reached out again, said he and Sabrina were struggling with their kids and could use help. He didn't know you were his. He thought I was just someone who needed work. My jaw dropped. So you became their babysitter? She nodded. It started small, once a week, then twice. I told you I was working at a catering company on the weekends, remember? I did. All those years, I thought she was just trying to make ends meet. But it wasn't just about money anymore, she continued. I fell in love with them, Josh and Lily. They're good kids. And watching Marcus be the kind of father he never was to you. It hurt, but it also healed something in me. I wanted to be a part of their lives. I needed to. And what about me? I snapped. Where did I fit in all this? She looked devastated. You were everything to me. But I was afraid if I told you the truth, you'd hate me. Or worse, you'd hate yourself. I was shaking. So you lied. Every weekend. Every birthday you missed. Every time you promised me something and backed out, you were with them. She didn't deny it. I thought I could juggle it all, she whispered. But I was wrong. The silence between us stretched like a rope about to snap. Finally, I asked the question I'd been dreading most. Do they know now? About me? She hesitated. Marcus found out. Last week. After you saw us. He came to me, furious, said he recognized you from an old photo I used to keep in my wallet. He demanded answers. I told him the truth. And he said he didn't want to ruin his family. That if Sabrina ever found out, it would destroy her. So he told me to stay away. From him. From the kids. From all of it. I swallowed hard. So what now? She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. Now, I try to fix what I broke. Starting with you. But I didn't know how she possibly could. I went back to school the next day, hoping to disappear again. But when I opened my locker, something fell out. A note. Folded twice. You're stronger than what she did. And no matter how messy her choices were, they don't define you. You're more than her secrets. Camille. It wasn't much, but it broke the dam inside me. I cried in the bathroom for 10 straight minutes, not out of weakness, but because someone still saw me under all the shame I'd been carrying. I still didn't know what to do about Mom. Or Marcus. Or the half-siblings I apparently had. But one thing became crystal clear that day. I would not be defined by my mother's double life. She may have lived two lives. But I was going to live one, with truth, with clarity, and without secrets. Even if that meant rebuilding everything from the ground up. A week passed. Then two. And somehow, the world kept spinning, even though mine felt like it had shattered into 1,000 pieces. Mom tried. She really did. She started cooking again, leaving notes for me on the fridge, asking if we could talk. But I couldn't bring myself to sit across from her without replaying every lie she told. I knew she was trying to make amends, but her efforts felt like patching a sinking ship with tape. I didn't know how to let her back in. But there was one thing I couldn't stop thinking about. Marcus. My real father. The one who knew about me now, and still chose silence. I told myself it didn't matter. That I didn't need anything from him. Not love. Not an apology. Not even acknowledgement. But the truth. The truth is, I did want something. Just once, I wanted to look him in the eye and ask why. Why he abandoned my mom. Why he let her carry the weight alone. Why he built a perfect life for his other kids while pretending I didn't exist. So one Friday after school, I took the train to New York again. I didn't tell anyone. Not Camille. Not Mom. I just went. His house looked the same. The white shutters. The silver Honda in the driveway. The stupid little lawn gnome I remembered seeing last time. My heart pounded as I approached the door. For a second, I almost chickened out. But then the door opened, like he'd felt me coming. It was him. Marcus. He looked older up close than I remembered from that day in the diner. His hair was going gray at the temples, and there were faint lines around his mouth. But the eyes were the same. And for the first time, I realized. They looked a little like mine. He blinked. You came. I nodded. I just want to talk. He stepped outside quickly, closing the door behind him. Not here, he whispered. The kids are inside. So we walked. Down the block. Past the corner store. To a little bench near the train station. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, I broke the silence. Why didn't you want me? He flinched like I'd slapped him. It's not that simple. Then explain it to me, I said. Because from where I stand, it looks simple. You got my mom pregnant. She raised me alone. And you pretended I didn't exist. He stared at the pavement, jaw tight. When she told me, he said slowly, I was 23. Immature. Selfish. Scared out of my mind. I thought she was lying. I thought she wanted to ruin my relationship with Sabrina. So I ran. And by the time I realized she was probably telling the truth, it was too late. You still could have come back. He nodded. I know. We sat in silence again, the wind whipping around us. Do they know? I asked. Your family. Josh and Lily. Sabrina. He shook his head. No. And they can't. My chest tightened. So I'm your secret. He didn't say anything. I stood up. You know what's messed up? I'm not even mad that you weren't there. I've lived without you for 17 years. What hurts is knowing I was never even worth the truth. He looked up at me then, his eyes glassy. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. But sorry felt hollow. Like a word someone uses when they're more afraid of consequences than guilt. I didn't come here for an apology, I said. I just needed to see it for myself. That I wasn't crazy. That I wasn't imagining the way you looked at me that day in the diner. He looked like he wanted to say more, but I turned and walked away. I didn't cry this time. I felt free. Like something inside me had been tied in a knot for years, and I had finally cut the rope. Back at home, I found Mom waiting in the kitchen. She looked up, startled, when she saw me. Where were you? I didn't answer right away. Then I said, I went to see him. Her breath caught. Oh, he apologized, I said. But not because he's sorry for what he did. More like because he doesn't want it to mess up the life he built without me. She closed her eyes like my words physically hurt. I don't want anything from him, I added. But I do want something from you. She looked up quickly. Anything. I want honesty. Going forward. No more pretending. No more hiding. If I'm going to forgive you, I need you to stop being someone I can't trust. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. Okay. I promise. From now on. No more lies. That night, we sat on the couch and finally talked. About her past. About what she'd given up. About how hard it was to be a single mom in a world that constantly judged her. She even showed me a photo I'd never seen before, me as a baby, being held by Marcus at the hospital. For a split second, they actually looked like a family. I cried myself to sleep that night, not because I was sad anymore, but because I'd finally let go of the version of my life I thought I needed. The truth was brutal. It ripped open wounds I didn't even know I had. But it also made space for something else. Healing. Spring melted into summer. By then, the dust had started to settle. Not in the way where everything went back to how it used to be, because it didn't. It never could. But in the way where we weren't walking on glass anymore. Where silence wasn't sharp and cold, but soft and cautious. Mom and I still had rough days. Sometimes I'd look at her and remember everything she hid from me. Sometimes I'd hear her phone buzz and wonder if she was still talking to Marcus, even though she promised she'd cut all contact. Trust isn't something you flip back on like a light switch. It has to be earned. Bit by bit. Word by word. But we were trying. And for the first time in months, that felt like enough. One afternoon in July, she came into my room with something in her hand, a manila folder. "What's that?" I asked, wary. She sat beside me on the bed and handed it over. "It's everything. My journals. Letters I wrote but never sent. Hospital forms. Even the test results from when I found out I was pregnant. I want you to have it. You deserve to see the whole story. Even the ugly parts." I opened the folder slowly. Inside were years of pain and guilt spilled across paper. I saw the fear in her handwriting when she found out she was pregnant. The desperate confusion when Marcus stopped answering her calls. The heartbreak when she walked away from his doorstep and realized she would have to raise me alone. And something else too. Quiet moments of joy. The first time I smiled. My first word. The way she always wrote "you" with a capital Y, like I was something holy. Tears slipped down my face without warning. For all her mistakes, she had loved me. Fiercely. Maybe even obsessively. She just never knew how to share the weight of that love. So she carried it like a secret, tucked away behind every lie she told. "I was scared," she said quietly, "that if I told you everything, you'd stop loving me." I looked up. "But don't you see? It's the lies that made me stop trusting you. Not the truth." She nodded, tears welling in her eyes too. That conversation cracked something open between us. Not a fix, not a miracle, but a start. Later that summer, I got a message on Instagram. It was from Lily, Marcus's daughter. "Hey, I think we might be sisters." My heart nearly stopped. She included a screenshot, an old email Marcus had accidentally left open on the family laptop. My name, my birthday, a sentence that said, "She knows about us now." I didn't know what to say. I stared at the screen for 20 minutes before I typed back, "Yeah, I think we are." She replied almost instantly, "I'm still processing, but I want to talk. If you ever want that too." We talked. Not right away, but eventually. Lily was nothing like I expected. She wasn't bitter or cruel or angry. She was curious, thoughtful, honest. She told me their family hadn't been as perfect as I assumed. That Marcus worked too much, and Sabrina had been emotionally distant for years. That she always felt like something was missing, and now she knew why. She wanted to meet. So a few weeks later, I took the train to Newark again. But this time, not to spy, not to scream, but to connect. We met at a small bakery near her school. She wore a navy hoodie and had a small silver nose ring. Her hands shook when she reached out to hug me. "You look just like me," she whispered. I was about to say that. I smiled. We sat for hours. Talked about school, life, family. She asked about my childhood, and I asked about hers. We avoided talking about Marcus too much. It was too loaded. But it didn't matter. We weren't there for him. We were there for each other. I didn't walk away with a new best friend or some dramatic half-sister moment where everything clicked. But I walked away feeling less alone. Like maybe all the pain wasn't for nothing. Senior year started a month later. I dyed my hair darker, got a new phone, cleaned out my room, and threw away all the junk I used to hide behind. Camille hugged me in the hallway on the first day back and said, "You look lighter." "I feel it," I said, because I did. Not because everything was fixed, but because I was finally done pretending. Done trying to be the girl who had the perfect family. Done hiding behind silence just to keep other people comfortable. And even though the cracks were still there between me and Mom, me and Marcus, even between the girl I was and the one I was becoming, I could finally see beauty in those cracks. They let the light in. A few weeks into the semester, we had a writing assignment in English class. Tell the story that changed your life. I stared at the prompt for hours. I thought about writing some made-up tale about a vacation or a book that inspired me. Something clean. Something safe. But instead, I wrote the truth. About the diner. About Marcus. About Mom's secrets and the night everything fell apart. About the mess. The betrayal. The rebuilding. I didn't write it to out anyone. I didn't write it for pity. I wrote it because I needed to. And when I handed it in, I felt like I had finally told my story, not the one Mom wrote for me, not the one Marcus erased, but mine. So yeah, my whole life did feel like a lie at one point. But now it feels like a story I took back. A story with sharp turns, unexpected truths, and broken pieces that don't fit together the way I once thought they would. But it's mine. And for the first time in my life, that feels like enough.